So this sheet is from what is called the Black Book of Communism, which is a thick tome, historical work documenting the crimes of communism and trying to add up, though you can't fully do that, and put together the data on communism. And there are some numbers that everybody should know. Everybody should know the number of their government's debt. Everybody should know the number of democide, people murdered by their government. And within that, everybody should know this number as well: 100 million dead. 100 million dead. That over the last century, communist governments, and you can see it added up here, and this is an estimate, killed about 100 million people when all is told. And this is not in wars. These are governments murdering or creating situations in which their own people die. And yet communism is still romanticized. The Nazi Holocaust claimed 6 to 10 million individual lives through the concentration camps, the persecution of people through their own government. 6 to 10 million people. And we can't even fathom the amount of deaths when we start getting into numbers like 1 million. But the Nazi Holocaust murdered 6 to 10 million people, not including the deaths from war. Now, communism, the communist governments that existed from the early 1900s all the way through to really the 1990s, there are still some communist governments on the face of the earth today, like Cuba and North Korea, but they have claimed 100 million lives. They murdered 100 million people. Yet if someone in the United States shows a swastika, that is met with, and rightly so, that is met with disgust, that is met with hatred, except in some very small circles where that type of ridiculous philosophy is accepted. And rightly so. Those things should be viewed with a historical memory of disdain and hatred and warning for our present time and the future of what a government can do when given that power, given those rights and freedoms willingly in order to restore some type of order and structure to society. We should learn those lessons, and we should have that moral revulsion toward the crimes of the Holocaust. Yet, it's very common for people to romanticize and brandish the symbols of communist governments, even to this day, of mass murderers, because the philosophy is one of egalitarianism, because the philosophy is one that touts equality, because the philosophy claims that the goal is so noble to make everybody equal and to move beyond the need for a totalitarian government once this totalitarian reign of terror of this particular class has passed on. But when this philosophy is applied consistently, and there's no sense in saying, well, it wasn't real communism, those who participated in it believed to their core that it was. And it bears, for whatever we may say of its differences, it bears so many similarities that you can see these different aspects, just like of Christianity or feminism. There are different core things that are the same in order to bear that name. And the same thing is said with communism. And communism's body count the results of the last 100 years have been 100 million dead through the experimentation of this political philosophy. So it is society destroying. Yet, we don't have that same moral revulsion toward the crimes of communism. Most people don't even have no idea about the crimes of communism, and are taught that communism was a nobly intentioned, although misguided or misapplied philosophy, not to be put in the same category as something like Nazi Germany. But what you're seeing in the core of both those philosophies of Nazism, National Socialism, and communism, international socialism, is authoritarian government control over a society, unaccountable and corrupting itself because it's filled with people who believe that if they just have enough power, they can shape society according to their wishes and desires. And if they just have enough force, money, resources, and energy, they can create a utopia and move beyond the tragic situation of the world as it is. But these philosophies have been met with incredible failure, and the body counts should be enough to warn us sternly that both of these philosophies are failures not only in their theoretical, but in the real world. Both of these have left behind the wreckage of societies and the deaths of millions of people, and we should be warned from trying them or anything like them ever again.